Chapter 1. The First Encounter. David stood at the edge of the bustling spaceport, his eyes scanning the crowd. The hum of interstellar engines and the chatter of diverse species created a vibrant tapestry of sound and movement. Today, he would meet Mira, a representative of the Sileni, a species only recently discovered and eager to engage with humanity. A tall figure detached itself from the throng, its movements graceful and fluid, a stark contrast to the chaotic environment of the spaceport. She was unmistakably Sileni, with her iridescent skin reflecting the sun's rays in a spectrum of colors. "David Lawson?" Her voice was soft, carrying an unfamiliar melodic accent. "Yes, and you must be Mira." "Welcome to Earth," David replied, extending his hand. Mira looked at his hand, hesitating for a moment before mimicking the gesture. Her touch was cool and light, almost like a whisper. "I am pleased to meet you, David. I hope to learn much from you," Mira said, her eyes bright with curiosity. David smiled. "And I from you. Shall we?" He gestured towards the exit, leading her away from the crowded arrival gate. As they walked, David initiated a protocol he had become accustomed to when meeting beings from different cultures. "I understand your species communicates differently. Did I greet you appropriately?" Mira nodded. "Yes, though in Sileni culture, we usually begin with a vocal harmony. It aligns our intentions and emotions." "Maybe you can teach me that sometime," David chuckled, intrigued. "That would be most agreeable," Mira replied, her lips curving into a smile. They reached a quieter section of the spaceport where a vehicle awaited them. Once inside, David noticed Mira examining the interior curiously. "This is a standard human transport vehicle. But please, if you feel uncomfortable at any point, let me know." "Thank you, David. Your consideration is appreciated," Mira said, settling into her seat as the vehicle began to move. David decided to delve a bit deeper, to start their cultural exchange informally. "So, Mira, what's one thing you're hoping to understand about humans?" Mira turned to him, her gaze thoughtful. "I am interested in your concept of individuality. In Sileni culture, the collective is prioritized. It is both fascinating and bewildering to us how individual desires and choices shape your society." "That's a complex topic," David mused. "Individuality is cherished among humans. It shapes much of our art, politics, and personal relationships. But it's also a source of conflict." "Indeed, it seems a double-edged sword," Mira responded, her tone indicating her eagerness to explore this paradox. As the cityscape rolled by, David pointed out landmarks and explained their historical and cultural significance, weaving a narrative that highlighted the diversity of human experience. Mira listened intently, occasionally asking insightful questions that forced David to think about aspects of his culture that he had taken for granted. By the time they reached the cultural exchange facility, David felt a genuine connection beginning to form. Myra's curiosity was infectious, and her perspectives fresh and enlightening. "We're here," David announced as they stepped out of the vehicle. "This will be our base for the duration of your visit. I'll introduce you to some colleagues who are as eager as I am to learn from you." Mira nodded, a look of determination set upon her features. "I am ready, David. Let us begin this journey of mutual understanding." As they entered the building, David felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, not just to teach, but also to learn and truly understand. This encounter, he sensed, was the beginning of something groundbreaking. Chapter 2. Learning Curves. The next morning, David and Mira entered the Cultural Exchange Facility's main conference room. It was a space filled with light, its walls adorned with artifacts and images from dozens of Earth's cultures, as well as a few from the Sileni archives. "Good morning, Mira. Did you rest well?" David asked as they approached a large oval table surrounded by various seating arrangements. "I did, thank you. Your planet's night sky is quite different from Silene's," Mira replied, her eyes reflecting a peaceful blue hue. "That's interesting. Maybe you could show me what your sky looks like sometime," David suggested, pulling out a chair for her before taking a seat himself. "I would be pleased to. Today, I am eager to continue our discussions. Who else will join us?" Mira inquired, looking around as the room began to fill. "Today, we'll have a couple of my colleagues join us. They're specialists in human psychology and social structures," David explained. Just then, two men entered the room. The first, a tall man with a friendly smile, extended his hand to Mira. "I'm Dr. Alex Chen, a psychologist. It's wonderful to meet you, Mira." The second, a younger man with keen eyes, followed suit. "And I'm Tom Baker. I study social dynamics. I'm really looking forward to learning from you." Mira repeated the human gesture of shaking hands, now more confidently. "Thank you, Dr. Chen, Mr. Baker. I am ready to share and learn." David initiated the session. "Let's start with something simple. Mira, could you explain how decision-making works within the Silene communities?" Mira nodded, her voice clear and calm. "In Silene culture, decisions are made after much communal discussion. Everyone's voice is heard, and the collective well-being is always the priority." Dr. Chen leaned forward, intrigued. "That sounds quite harmonious. How do you deal with disagreements or conflicting interests?" "There are always challenges," Mira admitted, "but we believe that a consensus is possible through dialogue and understanding. It requires patience and time." Tom scribbled notes, then looked up. "It's quite different in human societies. Often, individual leaders make decisions, which can lead to quick actions but also significant dissent." "Yes, I've read about such methods in your history," Mira responded. "It is very different from our practices." David steered the conversation towards a more interactive phase. "Why don't we simulate a decision-making process? Mira, you could present a typical Silene problem, and we could try to solve it as both Silene and humans would." "An excellent idea," Mira agreed. She proposed a scenario where a resource needed to be allocated among different sections of their community. Alex and Tom proposed various human approaches, ranging from democratic voting to executive decision by a selected leader. Mira listened, occasionally asking for clarifications. After discussing the human methods, Mira outlined how the Silene would approach the problem, emphasizing the role of extensive community discussions and the aim for a unanimous decision. "Trying to reach a unanimous decision every time seems time-consuming," Tom noted. "It is," Mira agreed. "But for us, the process is as important as the outcome. It strengthens our community bonds." David reflected on the discussion. "It seems both our approaches have their strengths and weaknesses. Humans can make decisions quickly, but the Silene method fosters stronger community ties." As the session drew to a close, Alex summarized their discussion. "This has been incredibly insightful. Understanding these fundamental differences in our cultures is essential for our collaboration." Mira smiled, her expression one of satisfied curiosity. "I have learned much today. I look forward to more such exchanges." David felt a surge of excitement about the potential of these sessions. "We're just getting started, Mira. There's so much more to explore." As they left the room, the group was abuzz with ideas and questions for their next meeting. It was clear that each session would bring them closer to a mutual understanding. Chapter 3: Beyond Words. David escorted Mira to one of Earth's renowned technological hubs, a sprawling campus that was a fusion of innovation centers and green spaces. They were joined by Dr. Samuel Lewis, a leading expert in sustainable technologies, whose enthusiasm for the visit was palpable. "Welcome to our tech park, Mira. I'm Sam, and I can't wait to show you some of the projects we're working on that might resonate with Sileni's ecological technologies." Sam greeted them warmly as he approached. Myra's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Thank you, Dr. Lewis. I am very interested to see how humans integrate technology with nature." As they walked through the park, Sam led them to a building that boasted walls completely covered in greenery, interspersed with solar cells. "This is one of our newest ventures, combining solar energy with vertical gardening. It helps in urban areas where space is limited," Sam explained. "That's remarkable," Mira remarked, examining the integration. "Sileni also use solar, but our methods are different. Perhaps we can share techniques." David watched the exchange with interest. "What's different about your solar technology, Mira?" Mira described a method involving bioluminescent plants that absorbed sunlight and emitted stored energy at night, a technique that fascinated both Sam and David. "I've never heard of such a method. The possibility of bioluminescent solar energy. This could revolutionize our approach," Sam exclaimed, clearly excited. David suggested, "Why don't we set up a workshop? You could demonstrate your techniques, and we could explore potential collaborations." Mira nodded eagerly. "I would appreciate that. Sharing knowledge is the path to progress." Their next stop was an innovation lab where engineers and designers worked on advanced robotics. The lab director, a middle-aged man named Eric, greeted them with a robotic hand prototype. "Dr. Lewis, Mr. Lawson, and Ms. Mira, welcome. This hand is designed for delicate surgical procedures, enhancing precision beyond human capabilities," Eric explained, demonstrating the hand's movements. Mira was intrigued. "Sileni have developed similar aids, but ours are tailored more towards repairing delicate ecosystems. Precision is crucial." "Indeed, it seems our goals align, even if our applications differ," Eric noted, showing Mira around the lab. They discussed various engineering challenges and shared insights from their respective technologies. As the tour continued, the group visited a communal area where people gathered, talking and exchanging ideas. David introduced Mira to various team members, who were eager to ask about her planet and culture. One young engineer, Lucas, asked, "What's the most surprising thing you found about Earth since arriving?" Mira thought for a moment. "The diversity, not just culturally, but also in your ecosystems and technologies. It's much more varied than on Sileni." The conversation flowed smoothly, and David could see the mutual respect growing between Mira and his colleagues. It was clear that both humans and Sileni had much to learn from each other. As the day wound down, Sam proposed a toast in the communal dining hall. "To new friendships and future collaborations that stretch beyond our imagination." Glasses clinked and Myra's face lit up with a joyful smile. "To shared knowledge and mutual understanding," she added, her voice resonant with genuine enthusiasm. David felt a sense of accomplishment as he looked around at the gathered group, all buzzing with new ideas and the possibility of working together. Today was just the beginning. "We have much to look forward to." As they left the tech park, the setting sun cast long shadows on the ground, and Mira paused to look back. "Thank you, David, for this day. It has been enlightening." "Thank you, Mira, for being so open with us. I believe we are on the brink of something truly wonderful," David responded, optimistic about the future. With a final look at the vibrant campus, they headed back to the city, minds full of possibilities and hearts a little lighter. The exchange was proving to be more than just a meeting of minds. It was a fusion of worlds. Chapter 4. A Deeper Connection. The following weekend, David took Mira to one of Earth's remote natural reserves, a place far removed from the technological wonders they had been exploring. Joining them was Mark, a colleague and an expert in Earth's ecological systems. "Mira, this is Mark. He's a biologist with a deep understanding of our natural ecosystems. I thought you might appreciate the contrast to our tech-focused tours." David introduced them as they stepped out of the vehicle into the crisp morning air. "Pleased to meet you, Mira. I've heard a lot about your insights on Silene ecology." Mark greeted her with a warm handshake. Mira nodded, her gaze sweeping over the lush landscape. "I am eager to learn about your planet's natural environments, Mr. Mark. It's quite different from the urban settings we've been discussing." The trio started down a trail, the path winding through towering trees and over streams bridged by natural stones. Mark pointed out various species of flora and fauna, explaining their roles within the ecosystem. "It's fascinating," Mira said, stopping to look at a cluster of wildflowers. "Silene plants are more uniform. Our biodiversity isn't as rich as Earth's. That's something we're trying to preserve here," Mark explained. "Each species plays a crucial role in maintaining the ecological balance." As they walked, David and Mark shared stories of Earth's conservation efforts, while Mira contributed her experiences with Silene's methods of ecological management. "Your approaches are quite advanced, but they seem to focus more on restoration rather than preservation," David noted. "Yes, our planet suffered from severe ecological degradations in the past. We had to learn hard lessons about the importance of environmental care," Mira responded, her tone reflective. The conversation turned personal as they sat by a lake, watching the water ripple gently in the breeze. Mira turned to David, her voice softer. "David, what made you choose to work in cultural exchange?" David smiled, tossing a small stone into the lake. "I've always been fascinated by the stories of people and cultures. Understanding someone else's world seems like the first step toward peace." "And what about you, Mark? Why biology?" Mira asked, genuinely interested. Mark laughed. "I love understanding how things grow and thrive. It's about nurturing life, ensuring that future generations can enjoy these sights just as we do now." Mira listened intently, her eyes reflecting the setting sun. "It's similar for Silene, though our focus has been more on survival than enjoyment in recent times." The discussion deepened as they shared their hopes for the future, both for their own people and for the new connections forming between humans and Silene. As the day ended, they gathered around a small campfire, the crackling sounds mixing with the evening chorus of wildlife. "Days like this make me hopeful about what we can achieve together," David mused, looking around at his companions. Mira nodded, her expression serene. "Yes, understanding each other's worlds allows us to build a better future, not just for us but for all life." Mark raised his cup toward the flickering flames. "To a future where we all thrive." Their voices mingled with the night sounds, a symphony of human and alien aspirations echoing under the starlit sky. As they returned to the city, a bond had been formed, not just of shared knowledge but of shared dreams and visions. David dropped Mira and Mark off, feeling a sense of contentment. "Thank you both for today. It's been enlightening." Myra's smile was gentle in the moonlight. "Thank you, David. Today was a beautiful reminder of why we are here." As David drove away, the peacefulness of the reserve lingered, a stark contrast to the bustling city lights ahead. The day had been one of reflection and connection, a valuable step forward in their journey of cultural exchange. Chapter 5. Intimate Realizations. David and Mira attended a vibrant cultural festival in a bustling city park, a celebration that brought together traditions from all corners of Earth. As they walked through the crowds, the air filled with the sense of exotic spices and the sounds of rhythmic music, David introduced Mira to another aspect of human life: festivity. Each stall and performance represents a different part of our world, David explained as they passed dancers swirling in colorful costumes. Mira was captivated, her eyes following the movements of the dancers. It's beautiful. On Silene, our celebrations are much more subdued, more ritualistic. As they continued their tour, they stumbled upon a booth showcasing traditional Earth games. There, they met Lucas, a friend and colleague of David's from the cultural exchange facility. "Hey, David! Who do we have here?" Lucas greeted them with a wide grin. "This is Mira, from Silene. Mira, this is Lucas, one of our finest cultural ambassadors," David introduced them. "Nice to meet you, Mira. Have you ever tried any Earth games?" Lucas asked, handing them each a small ring. "No, this is my first time," Mira replied, her curiosity piqued. Lucas showed her how to play a simple ring toss game. Mira watched intently before trying her hand, her first throw missing wildly, which drew a light laugh from both men. "It's harder than it looks," Mira exclaimed, but her second attempt was successful, causing all three to cheer. "See, you're a natural," Lucas joked, clapping her on the back. As the afternoon faded into evening, the atmosphere of the festival shifted. Lanterns lit up, casting a soft glow over the park. The trio found themselves near a stage where a local band was setting up. "This should be good," David said, leading them closer. "Music is a universal language, don't you think?" Mira nodded. "Yes, Silene also believe in the power of music. It's used in many of our healing ceremonies." The band started playing, and the crowd began to sway to the soothing melodies. Caught in the moment, David took Myra's hand, leading her gently into a slow dance. The contact seemed to startle her at first, but then she relaxed, moving gracefully to the music. As they danced, David found the courage to whisper, leaning in close, a human's touch, an alien's whisper. "Our worlds aren't so different when we find common ground like this, are they?" Myra's response was a soft whisper back. "No, they are not. This is quite beautiful, David." Their conversation deepened, moving away from the festivity around them into more personal territory. They discussed their families, their aspirations, and the loneliness of life devoted to bridging worlds. "You know, I never expected to find this kind of connection when I started working with Silene," David confessed as the song ended. Mira looked up at him, her expression tender. "Nor did I. But I am grateful for it." As they rejoined Lucas, he could see a change in their demeanor, a closeness that wasn't there before. "Looks like I missed some moments here," Lucas remarked with a teasing tone. "Just sharing some dance moves," David replied, a hint of red coloring his cheeks. The night ended with the three of them watching a fireworks display, the sky bursting with colors above them. "Mira, how do you feel about fireworks?" Lucas asked, curious about her perspective. "They are like stars, aren't they?" "Brilliant and fleeting," Mira observed, her eyes reflecting the light from above. "Yes, and like stars, they remind us of something larger than ourselves," David added, looking from the fireworks to Mira. As the festival wound down, and they said their goodbyes to Lucas, Mira turned to David. "Thank you for today. For showing me this, for the dance, for everything." David smiled, feeling a connection that went beyond their roles as cultural liaisons. "The pleasure was all mine, Mira." They walked back through the now quieting park, a comfortable silence between them, both reflecting on the evening, a night that had changed the dynamics of their relationship forever. Chapter 6. An Eternal Bond. The following day, as the early morning sun cast a golden hue over the city, David escorted Mira to a private gallery where an exhibit on interstellar art was being displayed. Today was a significant shift from the communal festivities to a more intimate setting, exploring the deeper connections between their respective cultures through art. As they entered the quiet gallery, they were greeted by the curator, a soft-spoken man named Henry. "Welcome, David, and this must be Mira. I've prepared something special for the two of you today." "Thank you, Henry. We're looking forward to it," David responded, noticing Myra's intrigued look as they walked past various artworks. Henry led them to a section dedicated to artworks inspired by first contacts with other civilizations. "These pieces here represent humanity's view of the unknown and our hopes for peaceful interactions," he explained, pointing to a vibrant canvas depicting humans and aliens in a harmonious gathering. Mira was drawn to a sculpture nearby, her fingers hovering close without touching. In Silene culture, art is also a form of communication, much like this. It conveys what words often cannot. David watched her, appreciating her perspective. It's the same here. Art can bridge gaps that diplomacy sometimes can't reach. As they moved through the gallery, the conversation shifted to personal reflections on their journey. "Mira, these past days have been enlightening. I've learned a lot, not just about Silene, but about myself," David admitted, stopping before a painting that seemed to capture an exchange of lights between two different worlds. Mira turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "And I as well. I did not expect to find such profound connections, nor such complexity in human expressions." Henry excused himself, leaving them to explore the rest of the exhibit on their own. They wandered through the gallery, each artwork prompting discussions about philosophy, life, and the universe. At one point, they came across a secluded spot where a piece titled "Dialogue of Whispers" was displayed. It depicted a human and an alien seated opposite each other, a delicate touch connecting them. "It's beautiful," Mira said softly. "This reminds me of us, of our first meetings." "Yes, it does. It's about the subtleties in communication, the unsaid words that we understand through gestures and looks," David reflected, glancing at her. Mira moved closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "David, thank you for showing me your world, for the patience and for the dance last night." David felt a warmth spread through him, and impulsively, he reached out to touch her hand. "And thank you, Mira, for trusting me, for sharing your insights and your culture." Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a mutual recognition of the bond they had formed. The phrase from the night before came back to him, and he said it aloud: "A human's touch, an alien's whisper, an eternal bond." Mira squeezed his hand gently, her smile radiant. "An eternal bond," she echoed. They spent a few more moments in silence, simply enjoying the connection. As they left the gallery, the day seemed brighter, the world around them filled with new possibilities. "We should head back," David finally said, reluctant to end the serene moment. "Yes, but let's take a moment to walk in the park nearby." "I would like that," Mira suggested. As they strolled through the park, their conversation turned to the future, plans for further exchanges, and hopes for deeper understanding between their people. The chapter of their relationship that had started in a formal meeting room had blossomed here, among art and whispers, into something neither had anticipated but both cherished deeply. As they parted ways later that day, the promise of tomorrow was a comforting certainty. Chapter 7. Challenges. As David and Myra's bond deepened, it did not go unnoticed. Their frequent interactions, both personal and professional, began to draw attention within their respective communities. The complexity of their relationship came under scrutiny, raising both curiosity and concern among their peers and superiors. On a crisp morning, David escorted Mira to a meeting with a panel composed of leaders from the human and Silene delegations. The atmosphere in the conference room was tense, a stark contrast to the casual intimacy of their recent encounters. "David, Mira, we've observed your collaboration closely," began Mr. Jacobs, a senior diplomat from the human side. His tone was diplomatic yet firm. "While we appreciate the enthusiasm, there's concern about the nature of your relationship exceeding professional boundaries. Next to him, a Sileni elder named the Ran expressed his perspective with a serene but serious demeanor. In Sileni culture, the blending of professional and personal spheres is unusual. We seek clarity on your intentions and the impact on our objectives. David felt a surge of protectiveness, but maintained his composure. Our relationship has evolved, true, but it has also fostered a deeper understanding and respect between our cultures. It's a testament to what we're trying to achieve here. Mira nodded in agreement. Our connection enhances our work. We share insights and bridge gaps, which I believe is the ultimate goal of this exchange. The panel exchanged looks, their expressions unreadable. Mr. Jacobs leaned forward, steepling his fingers. While that may be, we must consider public perception and the possible implications for our ongoing negotiations. It's delicate, and we must tread carefully. The Ran added, we do not wish to discourage the bond, but to understand its boundaries and ensure it aligns with our communal directives. David glanced at Mira, finding encouragement in her calm demeanor. I assure you, our relationship has only strengthened the mission. Perhaps it could serve as a model for how individuals from different worlds can relate on multiple levels. Mira spoke next, her voice clear and composed. We are willing to abide by guidelines set forth to ensure our actions are in harmony with our duties. But I believe stifling this connection would be a loss, not just personally but culturally. The discussion continued, with each side presenting their views and concerns. The human delegates were particularly interested in the protocols of such interactions, while the Sileni were concerned with the emotional ramifications. After lengthy deliberations, the panel decided to allow David and Mira to continue their association under close observation, with periodic reviews of their interaction to ensure compliance with both human and Sileni ethical standards. As they left the conference room, David felt a mixture of relief and frustration. That was more intense than I anticipated, he confessed as they walked down the corridor. Mira sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. But it's not unexpected. Our cultures are different, and what we're doing, it's new ground. True. And maybe it's good they're taking it seriously, David considered. It shows they understand the importance, even if they're cautious. Mira smiled softly, looking up at him. David, whatever comes, I am grateful for your partnership and your friendship. And I for yours, David replied, his voice warm. Let's focus on what we can do, within the lines they've drawn. We can still make this work. The challenges they faced were significant, but the potential to truly make a difference was real and worth the scrutiny. As they prepared for the next phase of their project, David and Mira knew they had the strength and the will to navigate the complexities of their intercultural alliance. They were determined to prove that their unique bond could indeed be a model for others, embodying the ideals of cooperation and mutual respect that had brought them together. Chapter 8. A Whisper to Eternity. David and Mira stood at the threshold of a newly established zone where humans and Sileni would live and work together. This area, designed as a model for future interspecies communities, was their new assignment and a direct result of the trust and understanding they had nurtured. Look at this place, David said, sweeping his hand across the view of neatly arranged buildings blending human and Sileni architectural styles. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Mira nodded, her eyes reflecting the new structures. It's a beginning. A place where our cultures can truly converge and grow together. They were joined by Thomas, the project's lead architect, who had worked closely with both human and Sileni designers to ensure the space met the needs and aesthetics of both species. David, Mira, welcome. Let me show you around. Every detail here is crafted to support both Sileni and human lifestyles, Thomas explained enthusiastically. As they toured the community, Thomas pointed out various innovations, buildings with adaptable environments suited for human and Silene comfort, communal areas designed to foster interaction, and even hybrid green spaces. It's amazing, Thomas. This could really change how we interact on a daily basis, David remarked, genuinely impressed. Mira touched the wall of a building, which subtly changed hue to a comforting Silene blue. It's responsive. Our technology, but with human design elements. It's harmonious. Their next stop was a cultural exchange center at the heart of the community. Here, they met with Jared, a cultural integration specialist. David, Mira, this center will be the soul of our community. Workshops, language classes, art exhibits from both worlds. It will all happen here, Jared said, showing them the interactive displays and educational resources. I can see this being the place where a lot of barriers come down, Mira said, looking over the schedule of events. And perhaps where many new bonds form. Jared nodded. Exactly. And your insights have been invaluable in setting this up, Mira. We want this to be a place of learning and understanding. As they continued their visit, David and Mira were greeted by various members of the community, both human and Silene, who expressed their excitement and curiosity about the new living arrangements. This is what we were hoping for, David. To see real enthusiasm from everyone involved, Mira commented as a group of Silene children ran past, laughing with a couple of human kids. Yeah, it's one thing to plan, another to see it come to life, David replied, watching the children play. It makes everything we've gone through worth it. Their final stop was at a lookout point overlooking the entire community. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the buildings, making them shine against the twilight sky. This is just the start, Mira. What we've built here. It's going to last. It's going to teach us even more about each other, David said, his tone reflective. Mira stood beside him, her voice soft but filled with emotion. A whisper to eternity. David. That's what this feels like. Our efforts, our hopes, whispered into the future. David smiled, taking her hand in his. A human's touch, an alien's whisper, an eternal bond. That's what we've created here. As they stood together, the community alive with the sounds of evening activity, David and Mira felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced challenges, navigated doubts, and now stood as pivotal figures in a pioneering venture. The community would grow, evolve, and face its own challenges, but the foundation they had built, on mutual respect and shared dreams, promised a future bright with potential. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, they knew they had started something extraordinary, not just for themselves, but for generations to come.